Hey everybody, thanks for joining. I see a lot of people still joining. My name's Evan. I'm on the BuzzSumo team, and we're lucky to be joined by Tom Chivers. I'm sorry, Tom. We just talked about that. We see a lot of people joining really quickly, so we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, put them in the chat while we're waiting. Feel free to let us know where you're let's say dialing in from, when you're logging in from. It's always kind of fun to see where everyone is. For me, I'm in New York. And Tom, you're in Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
So before Tom jumps in, just figure I'll introduce him. And myself, for those of you just joining, my name's Evan. I oversee customer success and strategy for BuzzSumo. You may have seen a lot of emails from me in the past. I am a real person. It's great to meet all of you. And I'm very excited today to be joined here by Tom Chivers. And that's because Tom is not only someone who talks the talk, but he also walks the walk when it comes to digital PR. He's currently working as a freelancer. He's worked in-house. He's worked at major agencies. And that means he's well acquainted with the ups and downs of life in PR. And today we're going to be lucky enough to benefit from that knowledge and experience, because he's distilling a lot of that down into a topic I know everybody's interested in, and something he's very passionate about, which is time-saving techniques. So I've seen the presentation. It's fantastic. There's a lot of actionable knowledge and insights in there. So one thing I want to add is a bit of housekeeping. You're going to want to look at this deck after. You're going to want to look at this recording. We're going to send it to you. So give us a couple of days and make sure we send out the deck. We send out the recording for the call. And if you have any questions, we're going to make sure we save time for Q&A at the end of the call. So if you have questions, pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll make sure we get to as many as we can. And one last thing, if you're familiar with BuzzSumo and not with Tom, which is unlikely because Tom's has a pretty big presence on social media, make sure you go and follow his social media accounts. I think Tom's going to flash him on the screen at the end. There's a ton of great content on there. He's well worth a follow as well, and I'm sure you're going to want to after the call today. So that being said, Tom, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, great. Well, thanks very much for the intro, Evan. So yeah, basically what today is all about is going over some time-saving digital PR hacks, in essence, turning hour-long jobs into 10-minute ones, as you can see on the slides. So I thought I'd start you off with a bit of a laugh. This picture on the left took me 2 hours to do in Photoshop. That is how bad I am at Photoshop. And the blue outline makes me look a bit like a Star Wars Force ghost. But anyway, so my name is Tom Chivers. I've worked in digital marketing for 6 years, both at agency and in-house. I've created some amazing digital PR campaigns and a few woefully misunderstood ones. And I'm currently working as a freelance digital PR. So feel free to get in touch with me afterwards if you're in the market for that kind of thing. And to get down to business, I absolutely love digital PR hacks. Now, why do I love them? Because if you get good at them, you can turn hour-long jobs into 10-minute ones, leaving you more time to be doing the things you actually want to be doing. But what fancy expensive tools do I actually need to make my life so much easier, I hear you ask? Spreadsheets. Now, if you know me and you follow me on social media, you'll know I absolutely love spreadsheets. I think they're the bee's knees. They're free, and if you know what they're doing, they're damn effective. So yeah, while employing tools like BuzzSumo can be a massive help when you're doing digital PR, a lot of people overlook the massive benefits that can come from learning the tips and tricks that come from being a bit of a spreadsheet nerd. Frankly, all you need is a spreadsheet in a dream. Look at Kelly Rowland. She could text her boyfriend from a spreadsheet. That is the level of power you could attain if only you'd learned. So now there's an old spreadsheet proverb, right? An optimist says this glass is half full. A pessimist says this glass is half empty. And a spreadsheet says this glass is the 1st of February. So what that basically means is spreadsheets are incredibly useful, but they take time to master. And just like Rome wasn't built in the day, your ability to be able to do VLOOKUPs blindfolded with one arm tied behind your back doesn't come to fruition overnight. Now, they can be really overwhelming at first, but sometimes all you need is to be shown a few examples to take away and learn. And that's effectively what this talk's all about. A few practical examples that you can go away and try yourself. Basically, a little bit of trial and error, and you can get better at it. So what you're going to learn in this talk, number one, what I think are the must-know formulas. Number two, how to build a 200+ email list in just under 10 minutes. Number three, the importance of your little black book of links. Number 4, how to find every news syndication for your coverage. And number 5, how to scrape a news website. Now that might sound a bit terrifying at first, but trust me, I go through this painstakingly. And number 6 is just question time and a bit of general chit chat. You can ask me what I had for breakfast if you like. Spoiler alert, it was buttery crumpets. So the must-know formulas. So learning the tricks of the trade for how to become a spreadsheet whiz and all-around nerd. So here are some of the formulas that I use every day. So count if does what it says in the tin, counts the number of times something appears. This is absolutely fantastic for finding out how many journalists write about a single topic, which I'll go into a bit later. VLOOKUP finds data in a table based on what you want. So if you're working with big data sources, this is your perfect solution rather than having to comb through it all manually. Keyword research, I don't think you could ever do it without VLOOKUPs. Equals trim, basically just gets rid of spaces. So if you're looking to try and make a formula work, sometimes a space that you can't see will often be your undoing. So this is how you get rid of them. Concatenate basically combines 2 separate cells together. So if you've got essentially 2 separate cells that have a journalist's first name and last name in from an export you've pulled, you can use concatenate and they'll basically pull those 2 things together so you have their full name. Split, basically the exact opposite of concatenate. You can split up single cells into multiple cells using what's known as a delimiter. Basically, you can either use a space, a comma, or whatever you want to split that into separate cells. And substitutes, you can replace something in a cell with whatever you like. So can be used to change a massive bunch of journalist URLs into just their names if you so wish. Here are the formulas I use every once in a while. So equals len, basically short for length, just tells you how many characters are in a cell. It's really helpful if you're trying to weed out longer sentences using filters, or I occasionally use it to just write tweets because you know that's exactly under 280 characters. Import range, this imports data from another spreadsheet, so it's really tremendous for keeping sort of your internal data secrets. So if you have a massive spreadsheet and you only want a client to see a little bit of it, you can use import range. And transpose literally just pulls in data horizontally rather than vertically. So if you're pulling a big set of data, you don't want to overlap anything. This will make sure it pulls across. And equals proper capitalizes the first word of every sentence. So it's really horrible people who love sentence case, but quite good for capitalizing journalist names. If error, if your formula has an error, this will write something more specific. So if you've got a formula which has an NA that you can't resolve, you can get it to write whatever you want in its place, or even just nothing if you wish. And import XML, this is how you extract information from a website using a query, basically scraping, which I'm going to, again, go into a bit of a later date. So if you want to extract prices from a website or even a journalist name from an article, this is the formula for you. And these are the formulas I just like. I just think they're quite neat, to be totally honest with you. Google Finance can be used to pull in up-to-date financial data. It's useful if you fancy yourself as a bit of a golden gecko, can be used to check currency conversions or even the stock market, if that's your game. Google Translate, literally just what it says in the tin, translate sentences into your chosen language. Might not be a good idea to translate your whole outreach emails, but a few phrases here and there wouldn't go amiss. And equals Sparkline creates custom graphs based on your data. I'll admit I've never used this one in my life, but it always looks quite cool, I think, and I think the bar charts look all right too. So there's the housekeeping done. Here's some fancy tips and tricks. So here is how you build a 200 strong email list in under 10 minutes. So utilizing spreadsheets to create a bulletproof seeding list for a topic you know next to nothing about. Enter BuzzSumo. So BuzzSumo is an absolutely fantastic tool, and I'm not just saying that because they've invited me to host a webinar, but we can make it work even harder for you than it already does. How? So say you're building a seeding list of journalists on a topic that's completely alien to you. You can find a single article here and there, but how would you find out which journalists write about that topic the most? You guessed it, BuzzSumo. So BuzzSumo doesn't actually have this information within its dashboard, so you have to do a little digging. But thankfully, with some simple Excel wizardry, you can turn a really data-heavy export into something a lot less daunting. So basically, you can turn this scary-looking, huge set of data on a topic into this list of journalists that write about the topic the most in just 8 steps. So first up, what you've got to do is search the topic. So in this case, I've looked for Cristiano Ronaldo and people who write about him. So go to BuzzSumo, type in your topic and click export as CSV. This will send a file to your email. Then what you do is you open up that file and add a new sheet in your data. So you can see the little plus sign there, that adds a new sheet. Then what you want to do is on that fresh sheet, you want to pull through all the unique author names. So all you do is you write the formula equals unique and you highlight column M in the previous sheet where that big list of journalist names lives. Then what you want to do is you want to count the number of articles that journalist has written. So next to your newly populated names, all you do is write the formula equals count if, highlight the previous column with all the names in like you did before, put a comma, and then go back to your new sheet and write basically A2 or whatever cell the name is in. So it's basically this thing here. So you're looking at where are the names, and then A2 is I'm looking for Sam Carney in this big list of data. Next, you're going to want to pull out the publication the journalist write for. So basically what you want to do is you hop back into the sheet with all the data in, and you insert a new column to the right of author name, which is basically will be a fresh sort of column. Then you want to write the following equals regex replace and this big massive formula here. This extracts the domain from the article URL. Now, I'm not going to read this out. I'm not going to expect you to write this down furiously in a notepad when your pen's on fire. So I'm going to upload these slides to SlideShare so you've got them for reference, because no one can be expected to write this down. Next up, you're going to want to find the publication link to the journalists. So simply hop back into your new sheet and do a VLOOKUP. Now, basically, what a VLOOKUP is, it's 3 questions you need to answer. What you're looking for, where you're looking for it, and what column you'll find it in. So you can see there, what you're looking for is A2, the journalist name. Where you're looking for it is in that big list of names, and you're looking for column 2, which if you go back there, you're highlighting these 2 things, you're going 1, 2. Yeah, as I've just basically said there. And then what you want to do is you want to remove all the formulas from your sheet. Now, the reason you do this is because if you try and play around with the filters while they're still formulas, it'll just mess up. So you need them to be the values. So to find out who the best journalists are, you're going to want to use a filter, which won't work when the formulas are still there. So basically just highlight columns A to C, click copy, and then paste as values. And step 8, to find out who the best journalists are for that topic, all you want to do is put a little filter on your data and then sort count by Z to A. Now, what this is going to do is going to make it go, obviously, there you can see there 209 downwards. So then what you've got is a list of journalists who write about the topic the most. And basically, all you have to do then is find their email. Couldn't be simpler. So chapter 3, your little black book of links. So this is about discovering how journalists aren't the only thing you should keep in your little black book. So lots of PRs talk about their little black book, and when they do, they're referring to their database of journalists. Now, what I'm here to do is to tell you, you want to start building a database of campaigns, because if every time you spot a campaign and add it to your database, it'll make you a better PR. Now, why will it make you a better PR? Well, there's a few benefits here. So it'll make your brainstorms incredibly easier because you'll be able to use a wealth of past campaigns as inspiration. Number 2, you'll be able to see what types of campaigns work the best, especially when it comes to link potential. And number 3, you can use those campaign links to discover new journalists who don't mind covering PR content. So what do you include in this? There's a few things, but basically you can include as much as you want effectively. But what I like to include are these. So the campaign title, obviously the URLs don't give the whole context. Campaign domain. So if you're stalking a specific competitor, you can filter out all their campaigns here. Campaign type, is it the dream job? Is it an index? Is it a most searched? Is it a map? If you start collecting that data, you can basically find out all this expertise about all these campaigns. Company niche, what niche does the company sit in? And then campaign niche, what niche does the campaign sit in? Now, the reason I do these 2 things is because companies will often do campaigns across several niches, but if you're looking at a competitor and you think, oh, they write about this, but they also write about that and that, you can think, oh, that gives me permission to actually write about those things as well. And links, what we pretty much all think is the be all end all when it comes to campaigns. How many links did this campaign get? And it looks a little something like this. So you can see there the title, annual phone deprecation report 2020, the domain. So it was done by Music Magpie. There's the URL there. Campaign type. So this was a data campaign. Campaign niche. It was in the technology sector. Company niche. This company works in retail. It got 144 links, and the market, which I like to include as well. So it wasn't just UK or US. It was basically worldwide. So basically, once you have these things, you can then play around with the filters to your heart's content. So say you want to find out what the best dream job campaigns are. All you need to do is filter by campaign type, which in this case would be dream jobs, and then sort by the most links, which there you can see something got 99 there. So the best dream job campaign that I've collected is a dream job campaign where you become a Christmas market tester. They'll probably run this again in a few months, so be aware of that. So that may sound all very good, but do you think, where can I actually find these campaigns? So look to the experts, basically. Now there's plenty of sources you can get, but here are the best three that I use. Ira Townsley's got a monthly newsletter called The Grapevine, which I think is invaluable. It sends over 100 campaigns a month, and it goes across every sort of niche, and it's absolutely fantastic. Shout out Iona. And again, Bethany Durham does an absolutely fantastic weekly PR newsletter, which is not just campaigns, but it's also insights and resources, which is really sort of fantastic thing for budding PRs. Or to be honest, I've been in this industry about 4 years, and even I sort of read it with bated breath every time. So it's a really sort of invaluable resource again. And the digital PR examples, Twitter accounts basically posts all the best PR campaigns that it can find, and really rounds off those sort of three experts there. So chapter 4, how to find every new syndication. So you might think, great, I've been covered, but how do you find all those sweet syndications if you've been covered by the likes of Reach PLC? Well, this is how. So if you don't know, here's what a syndication is. Basically, content syndication is the practice of online publishers republishing content across a range of websites that they own. So if you live and work in the UK, you probably know these three already, but you've got Reach PLC, Newsquest, and JPI Media are the three sort of iconic, most well-known brands who do this. Syndication is an absolute dream for a digital PR who just saw their one piece of coverage turn into 27 individual pieces. Shout out Neil Shaw. So what's the problem with syndication, you might ask? So because this content most likely has a canonical tag, that means Google, as well as most sorts of mentions monitoring software, will only typically display one piece of coverage, the original, with the original canonical tag. So the question is, how do you go about finding those other 26 pieces of coverage without trawling through every news website? So syndicated coverage tends to have one similarity. So if you were to look at these 3 links from a piece of syndicated coverage at Newsquest, so this is all essentially the same article across 3 different publications, something to do with loyalty cards. So essentially exactly the same article, but different domains. So what's the one thing they all have in common? The URL path following the domain is always the same. So every link shares the same URL path to the letter. So you can see there the domain is gazettenews.co.uk, dailyecho.co.uk, ulsterdeco.co.uk. But this bit here, news/national/ blah, 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 is all this. So this is invaluable to finding out all that coverage, basically. And once you have that one URL path, you can basically use it as a key. So use this one link as your key to unlocking all your coverage across the web from all the websites that that specific publisher owns. And if you don't know all the websites that publication owns, it's time to start hunting and start building a database of them. Obviously, that sounds well hard. Can't you just do it for me? Well, oh, go on then. I'll get you started, basically. So the 3 main publishers in the UK, as I've mentioned, are Reach PLC, Newsquest, and JPI Media. At the time of writing, I've found 56 Reach PLC titles, 187 Newsquest ones, and 282 JPI Media titles. And I'm going to share them all with you in a template spreadsheet that looks a little something like this. So basically, all you need to do is drop your one link into this spreadsheet, and you'll know in seconds whether Reach, Newsquest, or JPI have syndicated it. So how does it work? Basically, all you do is you input your URL into B2, basically. this thing here, into either the JPI Media, Reach PLC, or Newsquest tabs, depending on which publisher your article belongs to. This then extracts the URL path for you automatically with formula magic, and then cross-references across the websites that belong to that publication. Then all you need to do is check the status codes for each link, and it's as simple as that. So basically all you do is you drop the URL in here. This bit here is pulled automatically for you, and it basically pulls it along all of this, and it tells you whether the status code, which means whether this page exists or not. Now you might be thinking, oh my God, I haven't got a clue what a status code is. Don't worry, it's really, really simple to get your head around this if you didn't already know. There are plenty of articles out there to explain what each and every different status code means, but to be honest, the only ones you really need to know are these three. So 200 basically means the link is live. 301 basically means this link redirects, so it's up to you to go and check where it redirects to effectively. And 404 basically means this page doesn't exist. So I've done a little bit of a downloadable template, which is available here, just because this basically involves some scripts, coding, spreadsheet wizardry. So basically I've done this difficult bits for you, and all you have to do is basically make a copy of this sort of template sheet here. I'm going to be putting these slides on SlideShare afterwards as well, so don't worry, you'll be able to download that in no time at all. When you do make a copy, be sure to include the attached scripts file, which is how sort of the custom formula equals get status code runs. And chapter 5, how to scrape a news website. Basically, what this aims to do is make the needlessly complicated fairly easy with a little practice. So what do I mean by scraping? Basically, a website is nothing more than a collection of structured data. Scraping means you're extracting that data from a website. So when you scrape a website, you're actually pulling structured data from a URL using a query. So what you're essentially saying is, I know this data lives here. Show me that information across all these URLs. So as a digital PR, why would you bother? So 99 times out of 100, a website structure is uniform, meaning it's the same across the board, basically. So if the price data for a certain product sits on one specific place on a URL, it's a sure bet that it'll be the exact same spot for the rest of the products on that website. So you can see there's the price just under the title. Oh, look, there's the price underneath every single title. So that's pretty much how these websites sort of work. So what? So this means once you know a website structure and how to write the query to extract the data you want, you can extract that information from the entire website if you wanted to. So if you worked out how to pull the price from ASOS, you could pull it for every single URL on their page. So this might sound really scary, and a lot of PRs are sitting there going, no, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I swear to you, scraping a website is a lot less scary than it sounds. And it even might sound a bit advanced, but to be honest, I don't think it is. I learned it, and frankly, I'm an idiot. So there are so many benefits to learning it. You can use it to find data for your campaigns. You can use it to pull a load of page titles or meta information. Or, my favorite, you can use it to scrape a journalist's name from a huge list of articles. So picture this, right? A journalist's name appears in the exact same spot for each news site. So once you figured out how to write the query for that one website, let's say The Guardian, all you would need to do is find out that one query to extract the journalist's name from a massive list of URLs. You could extract everyone who writes for the Guardian sports section in seconds if all you need to do is figure out how to write that query. So how do you write these queries? Basically, I'm going to show you exactly how, and it's going to be in such painstaking detail that I don't want to hear another person say, I can't do it. And I'm even going to provide a template for you to download and play with that's absolutely foolproof. So here are the steps. Firstly, you go to any publication, so in this case, The Guardian, and you find out where the author is placed on that article. So there he is, Andy Hunter, just there. So what you want to then do is inspect the page source, Control-Shift-I. There is a way for Mac users to do this, but I don't have a Mac. And to be honest, you can find out for yourselves because I don't particularly like Macs that much. So basically press Control-Shift-I and then click on the author's name. Then it brings up the source code for the website. Then what you do is you right click on the section with the author's name in, this bit here. And then what you want to do is you want to click copy element, and then you paste this element into a Google Sheet. So effectively it'll look something a little like this. You can see, I'm not going to read this out because it'll make me sound like a robot. So basically now you've got that big long element, you need to translate it into query language, which in this case is / a open brackets at rel equals author. Basically the query will usually be structured the same. What appears at the start of the line, usually a, div, span, meta, or p, so this bit here, followed by the middle of the line, the middle line of the line, so usually class, name, rel, or property, and the named element, which in this case would be author. So you can see there, all you need to do is get this bit, and then this bit, and you can scrape the name. And then the formula you want to use is import XML. So all you need are these 2 bits of information, where you're looking and what you're looking for. So effectively it looks a little something like this. So import XML, the URL that you're looking at, and then the query that you're looking for. So there you go. The URL is there, and then the journalist name is Andy Hunter. So this might sound needlessly complicated, but it's really worth learning, because if you do it once, you will never have to do it again. So look there, I've done it once for The Guardian. I've just banged in that massive list of URLs, and it's pulled out every single journalist name there. So it's really invaluable to learn. Here are some other examples from other websites. So for Campaign Live, basically I've pulled the extract. It looks a little something like this, which then becomes / div at class equals article author. Eurogamer looks a little something like this, becomes p at class equals name, and stuff.co.nz, this looks like span equals at item prop and name. So basically the point I'm trying to make here is that most of the time all you will ever need to do is collect 3 bits of information. The first bit, which is the start of the section, the second bit, which is the element within that section, which is this, and then the third bit, which is the name of that element in brackets. So besides the question marks, these bits don't change. So it's all about finding out. So for this bit, the first bit would be div, as you can see there. The second bit would be class, as you can see there. And then the third bit is article author, as you can see there. Now, it really is that simple. Now, obviously, it's really difficult to sort of explain this in words, obviously, but I've included the 3 queries for the 3 websites that for you to have a play with yourself and sort of do a bit of trial and error to figure out how that works. All you have to do is visit this template sheet and make a copy. Basically, all you should do with this is start experimenting with different sites using the same structure as the 3 example websites. Now, I was absolutely terrible at this when I started, but I've been doing it for about 2 years now, and the trial and error that sort of comes with it is the key to learning here. You will be terrible at it when you first start, but if you keep at it and you keep doing that trial and error and you keep even just Googling things and think, right, this doesn't work. How can I sort of go to get around this? If you Google a solution, you'll probably find it. 90% of the stuff I know is from just canny Googling. So Google as your friend is basically what the epitome of this talk is all about. And yeah, those are my 5 chapters. Chapter 6, so ask me any questions you want, except about the football. Don't dare ask me about Liverpool FC. I cannot be bothered to have that chat this season. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing, Tom. Thank you. There's so much in there. And oh, there you go. And make sure you follow Tom on social. Well worth the follow. And if anyone has any questions, pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We got a couple more minutes so we can hang out and answer some questions you have. One thing I wanted to distill out of the chat is a lot of people were writing in about maybe being a bit newer to spreadsheets and unfamiliar with some formulas. And we're gonna make sure we send over a copy of this presentation, this deck. There's so much to unpack it in a good way. Like there's so much depth and value in it. And Tom did such a great job breaking everything down, but I'm sure it'd be helpful to have it to refer back to. Tom has those amazing templates. You pop them in the chat. I'll make sure we send it to you as well. but just a general, like more personal note on using spreadsheets. I think the quote I'm going to probably butcher is from Arthur C. Clarke, and he said, any sufficiently advanced form of technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I feel like that applies to spreadsheets. The best thing I ever did for my career was just spend a weekend, maybe 2 weekends, just furiously trying to figure out how to use things like VLOOKUP and to get more familiar with spreadsheets. And this is a great entrance point because Tom sent over the templates and he gave you a great guide to all the different formulas and things you can do.
Do you know what actually is a fantastic resource for learning how to do formulas? Because I basically just sort of touched on them lightly there. Gemma Flinders did an absolutely fantastic talk at Brighton SEO, and I'd wholly recommend anyone to look for it. So just type in Gemma Flinders Brighton SEO, and she sort of goes through each sort of formula that I sort of use. And she also has little videos for basically how to use them. That was a really sort of good resource.
Awesome. Yeah, just take the investment. If you haven't done it, make that little bit of investment in your career. It's going to help you. It's going to bring a lot more sanity to your life too, to have all the information you want at your fingertips.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So looking at the Q&A box, you guys seem to be a pretty quiet group. I guess everyone's still digesting everything Tom said. Let's see if there's anything in the chat as far as questions.
I've seen someone break the golden rule and already asked me a question about the game of the weekend. So I was a Forest fan as well. Oh, there you go. No wonder he's happy.
Okay, cool. So we do see some. So Tom, what's the most successful, your favorite campaign that you worked on, that you've run?
My favorite campaign would be something I did at Rise at 7, probably last year. We did something called the names calculator. And what we sort of did there was we took baby name information, I think from all the way back to the 90s. And we basically said, right, your name is Evan. Evan was the 10th most popular name in 1994 based on all these sort of factors. And it basically spat out all this really sort of cool information from that. But yeah, that again was just like the power of spreadsheets. Like all we had to do was basically pull up this massive list of data and then make the formulas sing for it, essentially. So I think that was a really good campaign for that reason.
Nice. Another one I saw in the chat. So we talked about finding journalists and all these different ways you can build these really powerful lists to understand who the best journalists to reach out to are. You know, how do you take that next step? How do you approach them typically once you have those lists?
So what I sort of tend to do for journalists is when you get a new client on, it's important to sort of introduce them first to the journalist and basically say, right, hi, whatever your name is, I represent a client in the niche that you write about, essentially. Here is all the things that we do. Here is what they're an expert in. Here is some of the things that they sell, if they do product PR especially, just to sort of intro them at first. And then basically once we start doing campaigns for them, they basically already know about the clients and they already know sort of these are the things they work in and this is the expertise that they have. So it's good to sort of introduce them before you sort of send them cold emails, I think.
Nice, that makes a ton of sense. We have a question from Jean or Jean. Don't want to mess it up. What was the biggest learning you got out of a campaign that didn't perform well?
Don't do that again. No, it's really hard with digital PR campaigns, to be honest. There are so many campaigns I've done that I thought were the bee's knees and just didn't get any coverage. A lot of the times what I tend to find is try and do something that journalists have clearly covered before, but not necessarily in that same lens, which sounds a little controversial, I know, because I think I really respect creative campaigns, and I think a lot of digital PRs do as well, but the amount of creative campaigns I find that fall flat in the face when I think it's a bit of a disgrace, to be honest, because it was a really good campaign. But the fact of the matter is journalists are sort of measured on engagement. So if they look at a creative campaign, they think there's no precedence for me to cover this because I don't know whether this will get the engagement or not. Whereas I think a lot of digital PRs, that dream jobs are sort of falling out of fashion these days, but a lot of people will find dream jobs will still get covered because the journalist knows if I write about this dream job, it will get engagement because it's what's gone before, essentially. So what I sort of tend to do is, which is a big reason of why I've got the sort of the campaign sort of database, so I can see the stuff that goes before, and I can see the campaigns that sort of get the most links in these sort of niches. So it's like, right, what have they done right versus a campaign that sort of hasn't gone right, and how can I learn for the ones that have got those links effectively?
Nice. Let's see. There's a lot more questions coming in now. Everyone started to speak up at once. This is awesome. So we'll make sure we answer a few more. Let's see what we have here. Alice asked, I feel like I remember you once had a formula to pull out how many links a past campaign had. Before I let you answer, Tom, I will say, Alice, check out BuzzSumo. We can make that really, really easy for you. But Tom, it sounds like you might have a formula as well.
I do, but it's for another paid for thing called SEO Tools for Excel, which, to be honest, like, if you've got a BuzzSumo registration, use BuzzSumo, because all you need to do is drop it in there and it'll tell you how many links a campaign has effectively. If you want to do it en masse, there's stuff like Ahrefs that you could sort of drop into there if you so wish. But yeah, if you want to do it really en masse, SEO Tools for Excel is something to look into, I'd say.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Tons of questions. I'm trying to sort through everything. So I think this is an interesting question from Cormac. Similar to what happens when a campaign doesn't go well. But he wants to talk about the mental side of things. So we talked about like how you would adjust it technically, but it's that feeling of rejection is always tough. I'm not necessarily in the PR space, but so it doesn't go well for me. It is hard to lift yourself back up out of it. How do you go about recovering, bouncing back, and getting your confidence back up again?
First things first, I go into a quiet room and scream into a pillow. I mean, it's one of them. With digital PR, you will get failures. It's just a fact of life. What I like to do is keep a sort of record of past successes that you have, because if you don't do that, sometimes you'll have a bad month, and a bad month when you have sort of 2 or 3 campaigns that aren't sort of landing or haven't done as well as you'd expected, it can feel really bad. So it's good to almost have like a bit of a record of achievement to look back and think, oh no, I am actually good at my job. I actually know what I'm talking about effectively. Freelance as well can be quite bad for that as well, because obviously if you work in an agency, you've got sort of people who can pick you up. But if you're working for yourself, it's really important to sort of have that sort of record of achievements and look back at it and think, oh no, actually, I do actually know my onions for these sort of things. But basically, if you have a campaign that fails, it's not the be all and end all. The best thing someone taught me was, it's PR, not ER. It's not the end of the world. Like, nobody's going to die. A client might get slightly annoyed, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, effectively. Just learn from it and take what you've learned and go on to the next one, effectively.
Yeah, great advice. And again, it's always hard, right? It's always, we could talk about it, but it's just something we all going to deal with, that rejection and that failure at some point. Cool. Sophia had a question. How can they translate the information given today to their advantage working in a news agency?
Could you give a bit more context for that one?
Yeah, Sophia, if you mind giving a bit more context in the chat, we can jump back into that. When working at a news agency already. Let's see, we do have a couple more questions in here. Can you go into a bit more detail about how you build and use that black book you talked about?
Yeah, so effectively, the little black book is a massive work in progress. So those sort of 3 sources that I've mentioned, Iona's campaign newsletter, Bethany Dunham's the weekly PR, I believe it's called, and then digital campaign examples. Basically, anytime those 3 send me an email or write out a tweet, I add it into that little black book, and I'm there saying, right, it was in the campaign was based in the UK, it was a dream job, it got this many things, and basically, once you have like 1,000 campaigns in there, you can then sort of really use that to advantage. So say you're doing say you've got a client who does something to do with golf supplies, and you don't know anything about golf supplies. All you'd basically do is type in golf into that golf or even sports into that sort of campaign newsletter. And then when you're going into a brainstorm to figure out what to do with them, you can see these are all the campaigns about golf or about sport in general that have gone before, and you can basically use them as a jumping off point. Also, content curated, as I see Liv Bennett has just put that in there. So shout out Liv. Oh, and Joe as well. There you go.
Nice. Okay, I think we might have time for 1 to 2 more questions. The chat's moving very fast. Try to pop them in the Q&A box, a little easier for us to find them. I think this is a good one though. How do I convince colleagues who've never used a spreadsheet or hate using spreadsheets to actually start using these systems? It's a challenge I'm sure you faced before, being the spreadsheet guy. How do you go about kind of spreading the joy of spreadsheets and evangelizing it?
I've never seen a team motivational problem that can't be fixed by bribing people with snacks. I mean, it's just one of them, really. You've just got to give people the tools they need to be able to do what they want to do. So it's like what I've done, these sort of templates here. I've shown these things to sort of team members before and like explained it to them, and it's just a bit like, oh, you can explain it to someone till the cows come home, and then their eyes sort of glaze over and nothing actually registers. Whereas if you give someone a template and then go, oh, look, here's this, go mess about with it, go break it, go do whatever you want, and then come back to me, and then we'll have a chat about what you've done effectively, I think is the best sort of way to look at it.
Cool. All right, we're going to do two more questions, guys. So thanks for writing in. I think we have the next 2. Tom, this is the $1 million question. I think we get asked this a lot. A lot of our panel or a lot of our hosts or webinars get asked this a lot. How do you go about asking journalists for a link if they only give you a mention?
Yeah, I constantly get this. The big secret isn't going to really shock anyone. Just ask. Just be polite as possible. Just say, hi, whatever your name is. I've seen you've thank you for covering us here. Would you mind if you added a link to our client's website just for reference for your readers? Basically, at the end of the day, I'm not one of those people who think you absolutely shouldn't ask for a link, because to be honest, there's no harm in it. Do you know what I mean? You're not ruining someone's day by asking for a link. Some journalists will pretend you ruined the day, but to be honest, they must live a really sad life if that can sort of ruin their day, that someone has politely asked them for a link in an article they've written. The one thing I'll say is try and do it as soon as possible. Don't sort of, if it's a week later, chances are they probably won't do it. But if you've caught them that sort of same day, there's a good chance you've done it. And I think it sort of works quite well, to be honest. I think sort of 60% of the people I sort of email do tend to change it to a link. Just be polite and ask effectively.
Yeah, and just for context, BuzzSumo does have an alerts feature where we'll find those mentions and tell you what's linked or unlinked. And we get that question a lot. And when we ask experts, we always get a similar answer. Is just, it goes back to that talk about failure, rejection. You will see some rejection. You might get an angry email or 2, but most people are genuinely nice and they'll say no politely, or it's a good chance to go and build that relationship.
What I'll say on that BuzzSumo alerts thing as well, because I use that all the time. What BuzzSumo alerts you can link it up with Slack as well. So what it'll then do is it'll ping you anytime a link goes live for that client. So basically you don't have to keep going on BuzzSumo, it'll just ping you in Slack. So you know, right, now it's time to get on the case of this journalist, or celebrate it to just give you a link anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you for the shout out. It is one of my favorite BuzzSumo features. I hate my inbox getting crowded. I just push it to Slack. So if you have Slack and BuzzSumo, you have questions about BuzzSumo about that, just email us, help@buzzsumo.com. We're happy to help you get the connection set up, but it's just right there in the settings. And Sophia clarified their question about news agencies. So Sophia works at a Forex and crypto payment solution company, and they have a lot of coverage from journalists. So they have the coverage part down, but they want to focus on how they can, I guess, get them to cover it in a way that's more appealing for audiences. So does it come down to relationship building? Tom, what's your take on that? To like, not to go from, okay, we have coverage to we want the right coverage.
The best thing I can say to get appealing coverage is think about the biggest problem that your client's sort of target audience has, and then try and sort of build something that can help them overcome that problem. Essentially, I think the best sort of digital PR campaigns, to my mind, are things that your client sort of customers have this specific problem. What you've then created helps them overcome it. effectively. So if you're sort of, I don't know, if you've got like a finance client, here's how much you would have to save each month in order to become a millionaire, something like that. Do you know what I mean? That's a very sort of reductionist answer. I'll just give you a campaign off the top of my head, but basically just think about the problems they have and try and create something that can help them overcome it, basically.
Nice. Okay. I think we hit all the questions. So thank you everyone for being so interactive. It's great to see those questions roll in. Now's the time where I'll pitch BuzzSumo quickly. If you haven't signed up for BuzzSumo, go to buzzsumo.com, sign up for a 30-day free trial. If you have any questions about the platform, again, you can reach us at help@buzzsumo.com. We're happy to help you with anything. But I just want to give a massive thank you to Tom, because you distilled so much into a half-hour presentation, and it's amazing. There's so much value in there, and to also make those templates available to everybody is, I think, pretty admirable and a very cool thing to do. So make sure, if you like the call, make sure you follow Tom on social, you reach out to him. But thank you for joining.
Thanks very much for having me, Evan.